What if I told you that a $730 billion company's entire foundation is crumbling in a federal courtroom right now? And one of the most powerful figures in tech saw it coming years ago, but nobody listened. In 2015, Elon Musk and Sam Altman founded OpenAI as a nonprofit with one explicit purpose: develop advanced artificial general intelligence that benefits humanity, completely independent of profit motives. Musk was deeply involved. He contributed funds, recruited top talent like researcher Ilya Sutskever, and later claimed he even came up with the name OpenAI. For several years, the structure held. The mission was pure. They were different from every other tech company. But the economics of AI don't work in a nonprofit structure. By 2017, it became clear that competing at the frontier of AI would require billions of dollars, capital that no nonprofit could realistically raise. Microsoft emerged as a potential partner. Discussions began about creating a for-profit subsidiary that could raise money, while the nonprofit parent theoretically maintained control. This is where Musk and Altman fundamentally diverged. Musk wanted ironclad guarantees that the for-profit structure wouldn't compromise the mission or give any individual control over the organization. When those terms couldn't be negotiated, Musk stepped down from the board in 2018. In his testimony decades later, he described this as the moment he began to worry the nonprofit was being stolen, not by thieves, but by the structural logic of having a for-profit subsidiary with access to capital and ambitious leaders. What's critical here, Musk's concerns weren't born from recent skepticism or competitive jealousy. They were baked into his departure from the board over 8 years ago. He saw the risk in the structure itself. In 2019, OpenAI created the for-profit subsidiary, a capped profit model designed to limit investor returns while theoretically giving the nonprofit control. It was a creative compromise on paper. The reality was different. From day one, the for-profit had access to capital markets while the nonprofit had none. The for-profit could hire aggressively, fund ambitious projects, and attract venture capital. The nonprofit became increasingly peripheral, a governance layer rather than an active decision maker. By late 2022, Musk had seen enough. He lost trust in Sam Altman's ability to protect the original mission. This wasn't about Microsoft's investment specifically. It was about understanding how power flows in organizations. Capital equals control. The for-profit had capital. The nonprofit didn't. In March 2023, Musk went public with his frustration. He tweeted, "I'm still confused as to how a nonprofit, to which I donated roughly $100 million, somehow became a $30 billion market cap for profit." It was a simple question with a complex answer. But Altman's public response was telling. He said he didn't want to get into a feud with Musk, that Musk was very wrong, and that OpenAI would make a positive contribution to the world. He didn't address the structural concern. He deflected. Behind the scenes, something more revealing was happening. In case files disclosed by Musk's lawyers in November 2025, it emerged that Altman had reached out to Siobhan Zilis on February 9, 2023, the day before Musk's tweet, asking for advice on whether to publicly praise Musk on X. He later did exactly that. This wasn't a coincidence. This was damage control. Altman anticipated the criticism and prepared a response strategy. He wasn't addressing the substance of Musk's concern about the structural problem. He was managing the relationship with someone he'd already written off as a threat to his vision for OpenAI. Then came November 2023. The board of OpenAI, the people closest to the organization's operations, decided Sam Altman could no longer be trusted as CEO. They fired him. The official reason? Dishonesty with the board. Ilya Sutskever, the researcher Musk had brought to OpenAI, led the charge. Helen Toner, a former board member, had concerns about the company's direction. The 4 days that followed, before investor pressure forced Altman's reinstatement, revealed something crucial. The people actually running the organization didn't believe Altman was being truthful about his intentions. This wasn't abstract speculation. This was the board saying, "We don't trust the person steering the ship." But the pressure was immense. Major investors threatened to abandon the company if Altman wasn't reinstated. Staff threatened to walk out if he wasn't brought back. The board caved, and in that capitulation, the nonprofit's fate was sealed. The for-profit and its investors had proved they had more power than the nonprofit's governance structure. Around the same time, OpenAI's operational focus had shifted dramatically. ChatGPT launched in November 2022 and became the fastest-growing app in history. The company that was supposed to be nonprofit, open source, and focused on AI safety became closed source, proprietary, and focused on maximizing returns for shareholders. By April 2026, 12 former OpenAI employees felt compelled to file a legal brief supporting Musk's lawsuit. Their statement was unambiguous. OpenAI had abandoned its nonprofit roots. These weren't competitors or external critics. These were insiders who had watched the transformation firsthand and concluded that Musk's original warning had been proven correct. The mission hadn't just drifted, It had been systematically dismantled. Musk filed his lawsuit in February 2024, claiming OpenAI, Altman, and President Greg Brockman violated the founding agreement by converting the nonprofit into a for-profit structure that now controls everything. His argument was straightforward. His $38 to $44 million in donations were used for unauthorized commercial purposes to build a company now valued at $730 billion. In May 2026, both men took the stand. Musk's testimony laid out his exact concerns. He worried the nonprofit was being structurally undermined. He said by late 2022, he'd lost trust in Altman. He acknowledged that when he founded XAI in 2023, it was specifically because he no longer believed OpenAI would develop AI for humanity's benefit. He called himself a fool for providing the early capital that made the transformation possible. But the most damaging testimony came during cross-examination. Altman's lawyers tried to paint Musk as a competitor motivated by sour grapes. Musk's lawyers went in a different direction. They questioned Altman about his honesty. They brought up concerns from multiple people Altman had worked with, former employees at his startup Loot, Dario Amodei at Anthropic, and former OpenAI board members Tasha McCauley and Sue Yoon. The pattern was consistent. Altman had a track record of telling people what they wanted to hear, rather than being truthful. When pressed directly on whether he would tell people things because he believed that's what they wanted to hear, Altman didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "I have complicated feelings about Elon." He pivoted to his emotions rather than defending his honesty. The lawyer cut him off. The question wasn't about feelings. It was about integrity. Altman didn't provide a clear answer. The courtroom understood. When Altman took the stand to defend himself, he maintained he never made commitments to Musk about OpenAI's structure. He testified he didn't understand Musk's accusation that executives were stealing from a charity. But he also acknowledged something revealing. The board had used creative ways to keep it going through outside investment and the for-profit structure. Creative ways, not transparent ways, not honest ways. Creative. Altman also testified that he was watching the company about to be destroyed when he was briefly ousted in November 2023. What he meant was, his vision was about to be reversed. The people trying to restore the nonprofit's control were, in his view, destroying OpenAI. That's a telling inversion of priorities. Even if Musk wins this lawsuit, even if a federal judge agrees he was right, it won't matter. The transformation is irreversible. Consider what would be required to undo it. OpenAI would need to restructure as a pure nonprofit again. But thousands of employees hold equity in the for-profit subsidiary worth billions of dollars. They'd lose everything. Amazon, Nvidia, SoftBank, and Microsoft have collectively invested over $110 billion expecting returns. Unwinding that would trigger cascading lawsuits from investors demanding compensation for breach of contract. The culture itself has shifted. A generation of AI researchers at OpenAI has never known it as anything other than a for-profit company. The original nonprofit mission isn't something they're rejecting. It's not something they ever truly embraced. It's an abstract idea, not an operational reality. Even the financial numbers work against reversal. The company is now valued at $730 billion. That valuation exists only because investors believe they'll see returns. The moment you convert it back to nonprofit, the value evaporates. Shareholders would sue. The government might get involved. Musk's lawsuit might result in a judgment that he was wronged. It might result in damages being paid. But those damages would likely go to him personally, not to restoring OpenAI's nonprofit mission. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers, the federal judge overseeing the case, has already indicated skepticism about Musk's claims of irreparable harm, suggesting that money might be the only remedy available. And money won't fix what's broken. It won't restore the nonprofit. It won't resurrect the original mission. It won't change the fact that a company founded to benefit humanity is now structured to maximize shareholder returns. This is what too late actually means. Not that the lawsuit can't be won. But that winning won't undo the transformation. The only thing a legal victory accomplishes is proving Musk was right about the problem. It doesn't fix the problem itself. Let's step back for a moment. Forget the legal battle. Forget the two billionaires. What mattered was the original structure. In 2015, OpenAI represented something genuinely different in the AI industry. It was a large, well-funded organization explicitly not trying to maximize shareholder returns. It was the closest thing the world had to an AI development lab that could prioritize safety over speed, openness over proprietary advantage, and long-term alignment with humanity over quarterly earnings calls. Was that structure perfect? No. Nonprofits have their own problems, inefficiency, mission creep, and governance challenges. But the incentive alignment was fundamentally different. Now consider what we have instead. A $730 billion company with massive investor expectations. When you're valued that high, you don't hit those expectations by being cautious about safety. You hit them by being first to market, by scaling aggressively, by moving fast, and iterating. You don't deliver those kinds of returns by making your research open source. You deliver them by building proprietary moats and capturing maximum market value. The structural incentive shifted from what benefits humanity to what delivers returns. And that shift is irreversible because the power structure shifted with it. Musk's original prediction, that a for-profit subsidiary would eventually dominate the nonprofit parent, came true exactly as he feared. The math of capital and control made it inevitable. It wasn't a conspiracy, it wasn't malfeasance, it was structural logic. What we lost wasn't just a company. We lost a counterbalance in the AI race. We lost an organization that could credibly say we're not doing this for profit. We lost a structural incentive for safety-first development at scale. Those things matter more than people realize, especially as AI systems become more powerful. Altman's version of OpenAI is successful by every traditional metric. It's valuable, it's influential, it's shaping the future of AI, but it's not doing what it was founded to do. That was the point Musk was trying to make in 2018, in 2023, and in federal court in 2026. And it's a point that only matters now that it's too late to do anything about it. So here's where we are in 2026. Elon Musk is in federal court proving he was right about Sam Altman and the path OpenAI chose. Evidence after evidence showing his 2018 concerns were prescient. 12 former employees agreeing with him. A board that briefly tried to correct course, only to be overruled by investors and staff. Musk was right. The nonprofit was transformed into a for-profit company that controls everything. The original mission became a marketing language. Safety took a backseat to shareholder returns. But his rightness doesn't matter anymore. The transformation is complete and irreversible. No court ruling can unwind the investor contracts. No judgment can restore the nonprofit's primacy. No legal victory can bring back what was lost. That's why it's too late. Not because Musk is wrong, but because he was right, and nobody listened until the point of no return had already been passed.